Hello, I am Jake Collins, and this is my commentary for the third episode of The Mummy Secrets of the Medjai, The Dark Medjai. There's a heck of a lot to say about this episode, and hopefully I'll manage to get it all out. I'll start by talking about the Dark Medjai himself in this scene where he escapes from prison. I don't like him that much as an antagonist, but here in this episode, he's okay. I accept him. He makes sense. He works in the episode. It's named after him. He's the antagonist. What he's doing makes enough sense for the episode and drives the episode well enough. That's fine. What I don't like is when he reappears twice later in the series. I've had enough of him after this episode. The Dark Medjai, here he is. I don't want to see him anymore after this, but I can accept him here. So you'll probably hear me complaining about his presence later in the series, but for now, I'm fine with him. You may recognise the voice of Jeff Bennett, who of course plays Fadil, doubling up as this younger, cocky, complainy guard at the prison, playing a character quite similar to Fadil in some ways, perhaps how Fadil would have turned out in 5 or 6 years' time if he hadn't had his change of heart and been on the journey he's going to go on in this very episode. Here is where we find out that the Dark Medjai is after a MacGuffin, of course, the medallion of the Medjai, and we'll be hearing more about that and seeing it later in the series too. Though we don't hear that much about it today, well, there's not really time, and we don't see it today, so we can forget about the medallion of the Medjai for now. Secrets of the Medjai truly earns its place as a subtitle, 9 out of 10. This episode does incredibly well to squeeze an awful lot of plot, characterisation, history, and significant revelations into a bare 20 minutes. Yanit and Fadil have always been at the very top of my friends for Alex list, and they are both used to excellent effect here. Particularly compelling is the start of Alex's relationship with Yanit, who very quickly proves to be an important friend and ally in many ways. Alex and Yanit working together so excellently to save the day must surely be seen as a very significant sequence of events in the context of the series as a whole, at least potentially. Inevitably, there are some contrivances and conveniences in the writing, mainly the flames of eternal darkness and the bridge that tries to kill you if you have male genitalia, but the inclusion of these is completely justifiable and works as well as it needs to. There's even time here, as you can see, for a quick cameo from Evie, Rick and Jonathan, and that really is squeezing a heck of a lot into the episode because they're not involved in the action at all. And it could have done without them. But it's nice to have this scene here with the family saying ta-ta to Alex, and Alex's reactions to that. It adds something to the episode, and it is worth squeezing in to the bare 20 minutes. It's almost a 10 out of 10 episode, this. There are just a few things about it that do drag it down to a high 9 for me. But all the stuff involving Alex, Yanit, and Fadil is definitely 10 out of 10 stuff for me. It's just little niggles here and there, and partly the fact I don't really like the Dark Medjai. But he's okay, as I say, that does just bring it down to a high 9. Of course, we do see here how there is a difference in this season between the Mummy episodes and Secrets of the Medjai episodes. The two parts of the title don't often come together very effectively, and this is very much a Secrets of the Medjai episode. And the most exciting and titillating and full of potential secret in this one, I would say, is Yanit's secret, which we'll learn later. Now, we've established by this point what Fadil is like at the moment, and here is Yanit making friends with Alex. This episode, I think, is more interesting, more revealing about Yanit than Fadil, and the other episode with them in trio is more interesting, more revealing about Fadil, which I guess is fair. but both episodes use them both to great effect. And Fadil does go on an important journey in this episode, journey of realization. You can see here while Ardith is doing his arrow analogy about the team being stronger than a single one, that Fadil doesn't really understand what Ardith's getting at. He's pleased with himself for breaking the single arrow. He's got a long journey to go on. Well, I suppose it's not that long, but he makes great strides on it today, which is wonderful. Here's the flames of eternal darkness, restoring the dark Medjai. It's a quick plot contrivance. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's one of the things that brings the episode down to a 9 for me. But it's okay. It's a bare 20 minutes. It all works as well as it needs to. So yeah, Fadil is interesting and important in this episode and goes on this journey of realization, as I say. But Yanit is the one that this episode is really good for. 90% of what we know or can infer about Yanit comes from this episode. The only extra thing we know from Trio is that she can fly a plane, or at least she can by that stage. But in this one, as I say, we get to know Yanit and know about her and infer things about her, and she's used extremely well. And we, as I say in the review, enjoy the beginnings of her interactions with Alex, as we saw a little earlier there. It's very obvious that Yanit and Alex feel a very strong connection, affinity with each other, and they have a certain spark. And I think that the intention was that is to kick off a ship between them. Now, perhaps you prefer Alex with Fadil. Indeed, you could make a very good series of slash fics about Alex and Fadil, and it would make a great deal of sense as a continuation of their relationship from this point. But personally, I do like to think that Alex and Yanit belong together. Interesting bit there where Alex starts to stand up to Fadil. He's always standing up to people, and he stands up to Fadil a few times in this episode. And they're actually about to have a physical fight when the Dark Medjai bursts in. Obviously, Alex would have won this fight, because, as we can see from the episode, Fadil really is all mouth and no trousers. He boasts, he shows off, he bosses the others around, but actually, the way he is and the way he is with the others has damaged their Medjai training, all of them, and they're all a bit rubbish and can't really work as a team. And Fadil in the field is actually quite useless, whereas Alex has a lot of field experience, which he's done so well on. He's a greatly skilled fighter already, as we know, and he would have kicked Fadil's butt absolutely. But we don't get to see that because the Dark Medjai shows up, as I say. But here we get Yanit joining in with Alex as he fights the Dark Medjai's dog underlings. And Yanit's the only one who really can help Alex in that fight, because Fadil has kind of ruined the others, retarded their training. But yeah, whenever I said in the past, oh, Alex has had a threesome with the Cloud kids, Simon has a crush on Alex, which could actually be true, but nevertheless, and Ardith copping a feel of Alex's boyish yet manly frame, I've been joking. I've been saying these things facetiously, and even though it might be true about Simon, I don't think they're really a part of the episode as such. But when I say that Yanit and Alex, I think, are kicking off a ship here, I'm completely serious. Alex is the king of the Medjai, and Yanit is his queen, or at least that's how it will be sometime in the not too distant future. And yeah, as I say, they feel this connection, they have a spark between them, and I think that is deliberately intended to be the start of a ship. They like each other, obviously, they have a lot of respect for each other, they work really well together, they just gel in so many ways, and I think that's entirely deliberate, and it's starting off their ship. Here's another slightly annoying thing about the episode that drags it down to a high 9 for me. The manacle doesn't work properly. Alex tries to use it here to rescue Ardith. Obviously that can't happen for the plot, so it starts pulling the fire towards him. Later in the episode, Alex is going to try to move a stone with the manacle, and he's like, oh, the stone's too big. The manacle should be able to do those things, and it just can't, as I say, for the plot. But you notice Yanit giving Alex a lot of emotional and physical support here, and then again, at this point, Alex stands up to Fadil, which is great to see. Fadil may be learning, going on his journey already. Alex teaches him so much in this episode just by being Alex. But yeah, you can see already Alex and Yanit with their very strong connection, help each other out, supporting each other emotionally and practically. I sometimes say Yanit is Alex's earth wire, and she is in that scene where he's going slightly over the top and slightly losing control and desperately trying to get Ardith with the manacle when it's obviously not working. Yanit comes to him and says, come on, we have to get out of here now. We'll regroup and try something else. And Alex goes with her. And yeah, they really, as I say, gel. It's absolutely fantastic part of the episode. And here's where they have this little chat hanging back on the horses while the others ride on ahead. And we might start to get the idea of what Yanit is hiding, what Yanit's secret is. The conversation goes, Alex says, well, why don't you hate me like the others? And she says, we're both outsiders. And Alex says, oh, but you're just like them. And she says, I am a Medjai, but I'm not like them. Put it another way with the subtext, Alex says, well, you're clearly of Middle Eastern, Arabic, North African descent, like all the others. And she says, well, yeah, but I have my sexual organs inside of me. That's what they're really saying in that conversation. Is Alex starting to get an inkling about Yanit? Well, who knows? But he starts, I would say, flirting with her before he actually knows she's a girl. So obviously he feels something. And here we really get to see how Fadil and the other young Medjai, because they've been following him and he's been giving them a bad example and retarding their training, are trying to find Ardith and the Dark Medjai, but not actually doing that well about it and not really knowing what they're doing. And again, this is where we get Alex stands up to Fadil and says, it should be the other way, and we're not just going to blindly follow you, but of course everyone except Yanit does blindly follow Fadil, and pays the price for it by getting trapped in this sand trap that we're about to see. So again, it's Alex and Yanit, and Alex there standing up to Fadil has given Yanit the confidence to go off and do her own thing. I'm going with Alex. I don't think she would have done that if Alex hadn't been there to stand up to Fadil. So you see, Alex and Yanit help each other, support each other, improve each other, and make a great team, pair. Of course, all the Medjai are a team, as we learn in this episode. But Alex and Yanit, as I say, do have that special connection, that special spark. And we're about to see that bit of flirting I mentioned. Yanit works out they've got 15 minutes to save the guys from the sand trap based on the rate the sand is falling in and pouring out of this little hole. And Yanit's like, I've always been good at math, which is something we learn about her in this episode, and something I've never found a way to use in fanfic myself, but I suppose you could. But then Alex gives her this little flirty, you're full of surprises, and they draw his face, his expression, his one moving eyebrow there to match the kind of flirty way he says that. So obviously Alex knows they have a bit of a spark here, and I wonder if he's thinking somewhere in his subconscious, well, either I'm about to discover something new and unexpected about myself, or Yanit is a girl. And soon we will discover that the case is that Yanit is a girl, which is one of the tropes that gets mentioned on TV tropes for this series. someone is a girl, in this case Yanit, pretending to be a boy. Yes, we've seen it around, but it's very well used and very well placed here. Here's something else that drags it down to a high 9 slightly. Alex playing fetch with the evil dog guardians, and suddenly they're tame. I'd have preferred to see some sort of thrilling fight there with Alex and Yanit kicking the dogs. You know, they're quite anthropomorphic, so it wouldn't be too bad, kicking their canine backsides. But we are about to see Alex and Yanit kick some serious butts, so don't worry. But here, of course, we have the bridge. The bridge that kills you if you have male genitalia. Now, I have read somewhere, well, why doesn't Alex try to plead the excuse to the bridge? Hey, I'm not a man, I'm a boy. Well, that's stupid. Obviously, it just means anyone with male genitalia, and we should be in no doubt that Alex has male genitalia by this point. But even if it was the case that a boy could go across, I certainly don't blame the bridge for counting Alex as a man. As I've said at this point, he is definitely a young man. But Yanit isn't. She is a young woman, and there she is revealing her hair to Alex just to prove it. And Alex is like, that's why I've been getting stirrings in the trouser department. And of course, Yanit is very keen to keep her secret at the moment. She doesn't have the confidence to keep her headscarf off for long, and that bodes for very interesting times to come, with Yanit being able to be her true self within the Medjai, hopefully, and we learn something about her history there. She's an only child, her father died, she feels it's her destiny to be a Medjai. Alex is very impressed with her, all you've been through just to be a Medjai. And of course, she's really trusting Alex there, placing her life, or certainly her status as a Medjai, possibly in his hands. So there's a lot of trust, a lot of respect, a lot of deep connection between the two of them already. And that works really, really well. As I say in the review, yeah, the bridge that tries to kill you if you're a man, or if you're a young man, or if you just have male genitalia, it is a bit convenient. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but for this 20-minute episode with so much packed into it, it makes perfectly enough sense as it needs to. And perhaps, yeah, that incantation and that magic was set up so long ago by ancient sexist people who it never occurred to them that a woman would ever be there and want to cross the bridge, a woman or a girl. So, there we go. Interesting point, possibly, about sexism through the ages there, inherent sexism. And as you can see, Alex and Yanit work absolutely brilliantly here together to defeat the Dark Medjai and free Ada. And that's what they do here, working together. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Physically, emotionally, and practically, Alex and Yanit just gel. This brings it down to a 9 as well, slightly for me. The magic scarab, if you remove its legs, it can read minds and tell us how to save the others from the sand trap. I mean, come on. In that bridge scene, you get to hear Yanit's real voice. And if you look up the lady who voiced Yanit, Jeannie Elias, you find out she was knocking 50 when they made this. And Yanit, when she's doing her natural voice, her girl voice, does sound kind of mature and grown up and more like a woman than a girl. But I think her boy voice is absolutely brilliant. And of course, that's the voice she's doing most of the time. But it does strike me, yeah, she does sound more like a woman than a girl when she stops doing her boy voice. That bit is brilliant, of course. It's the end of Fadil's journey, at least for now, in this episode, where Fadil admits to Alex, I should have trusted you. You are the better Medjai. And Alex would be well within his rights to say there, yeah, I am, aren't I, Fadil? So you can suck it and be my bitch. But of course, being Alex, he's like, no, Fadil. We're all a team, very supportive to him in that way. And we'll see Alex being supportive to Fadil as the two of them continue their journey together later in the series, and it will be very compelling indeed. in that scene at the end there, Alex says to Ardith, "You know her secret about Yanit?" And Ardith would be like, "Well, I do now," even if Yanit hadn't already told him. Fortunately, she had told him. And a moment of redemption for Ardith there, despite the things I don't like about him. He's ready to accept Yanit, despite the fact that she has sexual organs inside of her. The world has changed, and the Medjai must change with it. That episode was written by Stephen Melching. Excellent work there, Steve. You squeezed a lot of wonderful stuff into a bare 20 minutes, and it's absolutely excellent, even though, as I say, it has those few things that drag it down to a high 9 out of 10. The next episode will not be dragged down to a high 9, but will stay on a solid 10, and I will be extolling its virtues at great length in the next commentary, and the title of the episode is Like Father, Like Son.